Nano Machine. By Hanjung Weolya. Chapter 16, He Lied to Everyone, Part 1. In the hospital room in the main building of the Demonic Academy, near midnight. NNGH. The 23rd cadet woke up after fainting from the electric shock. His body shivered from the aftermath, and all he remembered was that he had been stunned by an unknown force while trying to cut Chun Yowon's leg. Why did I pass out? He looked around, but he was still in the medical room. What is going on? He glanced around and felt that it was weird. The cadet normally could feel the hair that touched his shoulder, but when he moved around, he couldn't feel any. No, it can't be. He couldn't feel any of his hair. The cadet then got up and tried to find a mirror, but before he could get up, a powerful force pushed him back down on the bed. Ugh! There was no damage to his muscles, but his wounds were sewed with a needle, so the pain still lingered. He then looked down at his body. There was a rope that tied him down to the bed. He couldn't get out of it no matter how hard he tried. Who tied me down here? Me. The curtain was pulled and someone appeared. It was Chun Yowon. The 23rd cadet became shocked and gasped, How did you? How? You passed out, so I put you back in bed. Passed out? So what he thought was correct. He then became concerned about the whole situation. Chun Yowon, who should be in bed due to his internal injuries, was walking around just fine. Not to mention, he had tied him down to the bed. And of course, there was his hair too. Where's my hair? Oh, yeah, you're bald now. Yowon grinned and the 23rd cadet writhed, trying to scream. No, I can't be No. Me? Bald? No. Shut up. The 23rd cadet tried to scream, but Chun Yowon struck him down with his fist, making him pass out again. He's too noisy. I should have him bite on a rag or something, Yowon mumbled. It didn't take long for the 23rd cadet to be awake again. He tried to yell again this time, but he realized he had a rag in his mouth that stopped him from making sounds. Yowon then sat down on the chair next to the bed. The 23rd cadet came back to his senses. He now knew what the situation was like for him. You have a rag in your mouth. I wouldn't try to say anything I were you. Yowon's cold voice made the 23rd cadet's eyes shake. He thought Yowon was a foolish prince who did not know anything, but it turns out it wasn't. Was he like this on that day too? Yowon glared at him with a cold expression. The 23rd cadet then realized that his life was in danger. Hey, do you know how I survived until today? Yowon asked. Can you even guess how many assassins like you come to kill or poison me? Yowon's voice had a deep hatred in it. His life was like a storm. What is this? Yowon flashed something on his hand to the 23rd cadet. It was the knife that the 23rd cadet had stolen to cut Yowon's leg muscle. Yowon then pressed the knife against the 23rd cadet's neck and threatened him. You tried to play with me, so you must know how painful it is to get stabbed with this? Oh, it might kill you too. The 23rd cadet became fear-stricken. Yowon looked terrifying. Well, you better talk then. The 23rd cadet swallowed his empty throat. Who sent you? The 23rd cadet thought hundreds of ways to get out of this situation and came up with an idea. As he tried to talk, Yowon took out the rag out from his mouth. Talk. Ha. The cadet panted heavily before he began to talk. I don't know what you are talking about. Huh? I don't know what you're talking about. Besides, do you think you'll walk out fine if you kill me in a medical room inside the academy? The 23rd cadet remembered of the rules of the academy. It was forbidden for students to hurt each other outside training or official duels. You think you can hurt me? The 23rd cadet became instantly relieved and arrogant. Yowon then frowned. So, it didn't work then. Don't even think about it. And even if you torture me, I won't open my mouth. Yowon then gave the 23rd cadet a weird look. Well then, should I try it whether you open your mouth or not? Huh? Yowon then placed the rag back into his mouth and went to the cabinet to take out some long needles. The 23rd cadet's eyes grew wide with shock. What is he trying to do with that? You know, my place didn't have these kinds of things. But this place is full of it. The 23rd cadet felt sweat running down his forehead. Yowon then grabbed his left wrist. Cadet clenched his fist quickly, but Yowon grabbed it and opened it forcefully. How is he so strong? Everyone knew that Yowon did not learn any martial arts, but he was too strong right now. Please. As his fingers were stretched, Yowon cracked an evil smile. This will hurt. He poked the giant needle between the cadet's finger and nail. NNNNNNNNNNNGHHHH. The pain made the 23rd cadet cry. It was so painful that veins popped up on his neck. Yoan did not care about the sight and took another finger to poke the nail down. NGNGNGGHGHHRHHHH. It was only 2 needles, but it was too much pain for the boy to endure. He writhed in pain and Yoan spoke to him for the last time. Well, you told me you won't spill through torture, so just consider it as my way of getting revenge. The 23rd cadet then shuddered and tried to speak, but there was no use. It was the start of terrible torture. Soon, all of the fingers on his left hand had needles stuck underneath the nails. He had passed out 2 times due to the pain already. Yoan then got up and dragged the chair to the right side of the bed. The 23rd cadet knew what this meant, so he shed his tears in fear. He tried to speak as hard as he could, trying to spit out the rag in the process. NGH. NGH. Yoan smiled. You want to speak then? You should have told me earlier. He grinned and took the rag out of the cadet's mouth. He had bitten on it so hard that white rag had blood stains on it. He then panted for a second and tried to say something, but Yoan spoke first. Chun Mukium, right? How did you? Yoan had guessed correctly. He didn't seem to know who was behind the plot, but it was enough to make 23rd cadet surprised. You're in my group, right? The 8th group. Why yes sir. The 23rd cadet answered politely, still fear-stricken from being tortured. However, he was curious as to how Chun Yoan knew that he was in the 8th group and knew that even the 23rd cadet himself was in that same group. Well, your tag is here. Yoan pointed at the 23rd cadet's number tag. But how did you know? Well, thanks to our group leader, our instructor comes to me every morning to teach me what I'm missing. This was what Chun Mukium had not even thought about. Since the morning session was done in the auditorium, each instructor had nothing to do, so Imping used this opportunity to visit Chun Yoan to teach him basic martial arts techniques. It was his effort to not allow his group to fail, and Chun Yoan was able to find out who was in his group and what his group number was. Well, I already guessed it, but I just wanted to hear it from your mouth. The 23rd cadet couldn't believe that this boy was the foolish prince that Mukium and Jayun had told him about. He is definitely not just some foolish kid. He was a monster in hiding actually. It was terrifying to guess how fearful he would be if he acquired such power. I still got good information from you, so let's finish it here. Ah really? The 23rd cadet became hopeful at the words. Yeah. And don't let other people know what happened here, okay? He almost wanted to get up and bow in obedience, but his body was bound so he couldn't do that. Yoan grinned and placed his finger on the blood point of the 23rd cadet's body. Huh? The 23rd cadet then began falling asleep. Sending power over to the blood point required some amount of internal energy, but he knew Chun Yoan had none. He was lying to everyone. And the 23rd cadet's first day in the medical room ended just like that. Chapter 17, He Lied to Everyone, Part 2. A few hours after the incident in the medical room, Submeng visited the medical room as usual. However, he was more excited than his visit a few days ago, since Chun Yoan had finally achieved gaining internal energy within his stomach yesterday. This one is real. Submeng was truly astounded. The 1 week he first spoke of was actually much shorter than what he expected it to be. His teacher's way of teaching how to acquire internal energy usually required at least 2 to 3 weeks, even months. Yet Yoan had achieved it within 5 days. Hee. I can move on with the next steps then. He now realized why his colleagues told him to take an apprentice. If the apprentice was talented, it gave the teacher more satisfaction in teaching. Apprentice Chun Yoan. Good morning, teacher. Yes, my apprentice. And he was very polite too. Aside from the first day when he came in unannounced in the morning, Yoan always woke up early and waited for Submeng to arrive to kneel in front of him. Submeng asked, "Where is it?" "I have it under my bed." Chun Yoan then went to the bed near the window and brought out a small wooden chest. As it was opened, the thick smell of medicinal herbs filled the area. It was the black dragon ball given to students who had passed the first test. This was the medicinal ball that the demonic cult created to allow one to acquire 20 years worth of internal energy after consuming it. Submeng looked at it with satisfaction and drank from his liquor bottle. If he instructed Yoan to eat this while he was teaching him, Yoan would safely acquire 20 years worth of internal energy without much loss. That will put him at the start line at least. If it happened, that would be a great feat. Heh. Oh, but who is that kid? Oh. Submeng pointed at the bed in the middle of the room that was hidden by a curtain. He never heard the others breathing since he started coming here. The boy's breathing was shallow, as if he had been put to sleep from a blood point. Submang got up and pulled the curtain to see a bald boy with linen bandages wrapped around on top of his body. He was put to sleep from the blood point as expected. Oh? You poked his blood point? He had never taught Yowan about any blood points, but it seemed that Yowan had acquired this before. He attacked me after Dr. Beck went home. He attacked you? Submang frowned. This meant that the bald boy did not fear being kicked out of the academy. If that was the case, someone was watching his back. Submang asked. Who is it? It's a kid from the Loyal clan in my group. Ha! Loyal clan? They are full of fools. The Loyal clan had a history of having people causing trouble, perhaps due to the characteristics of their martial art. Well, you sure do have a tough life. That is all right. I'm used to it. Yowan was really used to such things, but Submang didn't feel good about the fact that a young boy like Yowan was used to being attacked. Huh? Submang then pressed the blood point of the 23rd cadet again and gave Yowan some advice. If you poke it with a year's worth or less amount of internal energy, it wears off after a few hours. If you want it to be perfect, then you need at least 10 years. Got it? Yes, teacher, Yowan answered. With Submang working on the blood point, there was no need to worry about the 23rd cadet waking up. He couldn't let anyone know that he was being taught by right guardian Submang. Take out the ball and consume it. Do I swallow it? No. You have to chew it before swallowing it so that you can absorb all the energy. If Submang did not give him such advice, Yowan would have only acquired half of the energy. He was lucky to have Submang. As he chewed on the ball, a bitter taste filled his mouth and made him feel disgusted. After barely chewing it down and swallowing it, Yowan sat down on the floor with his feet crossed. If you start using the breathing of 1,000 marshals, I will help you absorb the Black Dragon Ball's energy better. Understood. Thank you. Now, start. Chun Yowan then began breathing using the skill, and Submang placed both of his hands on Yowan's back to press internal energy into Yowan. As the ball began spreading itself in Yowan's body, Nano's voice could be heard. A substance which aids powerful energy activation has been consumed. It is reproducing by reacting to the energy that flows within the user's 14 veins. Will you accept its absorption by quickening the body cycle? Yowan couldn't understand most of what Nano was saying, but it seemed like it was going to help with absorbing the ball, so Yowan gave a short answer. Yes. Activating. And with that, the nano machine inside his body quickly began activating his body functions and cycle to absorb the ball. Phew. Yowan felt hot energy below his stomach. This was very lucky for Yowan as Submang was helping from the outside and the nano machine was helping him from the inside. He could probably only absorb maybe 70% of the energy from the ball, but now he was absorbing 100% of it. Yowan's body began to sweat. What? Was he born with the body of a war god? Submang was beyond shocked. If this was going well, Yowan was going to absorb all of the energy. Submang began to focus so that none of it would go to waste, and 2 hours passed by. It's done. Submang swept the sweat on his forehead and drank the entire bottle. Unlike his prior concern, Yowan succeeded in absorbing entire energy from the Black Dragon Ball. Good work. It's all thanks to you, teacher. And thanks Nano. I am programmed to aid you in the best way that I can, master. Yowan now felt heavy energy under his belly, proving that he had successfully absorbed the energy. Well, you are a lucky one. You have gotten 30 years worth of internal energy. Huh? 30? Yes, that is a rough estimate. The other students will barely be able to acquire maybe half the energy from the ball because they will be absorbing it alone. Oh, thank you, teacher. Yowan bowed once more. Like Submang said, those who acquired at least 20 years worth of energy were the heirs from the 6 clans, or a few of the members from the high-ranked clans. Most would barely receive 10 years worth of internal energy. Oh, look at the time. Submang then saw the sun rising outside the window and got up. As he was walking out, Yowan called out to him. Teacher. What is it? Can you teach me your blade skill formation? Heh, of course. You have little time on your hands, so be ready. That's what Submang had planned from the beginning, but he was glad to hear it from Yowan himself. Submang then walked out, and before Baek Jongmang came, Yowan woke the 23rd cadet up. He couldn't say anything to Yowan out of fear. Jongmang saw the bald 23rd cadet and burst out in laughter. Ha ha ha, damn it. The 23rd cadet had to hold back his anger. He couldn't dare to act out since Yowan might not like it. Oh, I'm sorry. Jongmang apologized for laughing and covered the bed with a curtain. He figured something might have happened overnight as the cadet couldn't even say anything when he laughed, but he didn't mention it. As a doctor in the academy, he couldn't really ask questions about anything. What a great morning! At the training ground for morning training, Chun Yu-kium stood there brightly with a smile on his face. Thanks to Jaeyoon's plans of sending the 23rd cadet to the hospital, it had probably solved his problem. Thanks to that, the cadets of the 8th group were able to enjoy peaceful nights for 2 days at least. Chapter 18, He Lied to Everyone, Part 3. 2 days passed. At dinner time after the afternoon training, the 23rd cadet that Chun Yu-kium had waited so long for finally returned. His head was wrapped with some small cloths. Yu-kium's face crumpled terribly. If he won't come to us, we'll send someone to him. It was what Jaeyoon had planned, and therefore the 23rd cadet was sent to the medical room. The 23rd cadet was a member of a weak clan within the demonic cult. Yu-kium promised to help his family if 23rd cadet succeeded. Interesting. Why didn't you get expelled? Yu-kium glared coldly at the 23rd cadet. The 23rd cadet was on his knees as he answered carefully, I tried to cut his leg muscle, but his internal damage was so bad that the doctor stayed in the medical room to look after him. Huh? Doesn't he sleep? Don't tell me you didn't have any time to do that. I tried to wake up at midnight to do it, but the doctor woke up every time I moved. The 23rd cadet wasn't sure if his lies would work, but he had no choice other than using the excuse that Yoan had told him to use. You couldn't even get past a doctor? Ugh! Yu-kium kicked the 23rd cadet's stomach, knocking him back. Damn idiot. You can't even do that, right? Yu-kium kept on kicking him, but the 23rd cadet couldn't do anything. Jaeyoon stopped Yu-kium. Prince, stop. What? What do you want? Do you know the doctor's name? Jaeyoon asked the 23rd cadet and he answered while panting heavily. Ugh, it's Baek Jongmeng. Baek Jongmeng. Baek. Oh. Jaeyoon had asked for a reason. He had learned and studied many things about the demonic cult to better assist Chun Yu-kium. What? Do you know him? He must be an apprentice of the demon doctor Baek Jongwoo. Really? Yu-kium then became surprised and stopped. Baek Jongwoo was a member of the Poison clan who was interested in medical skills and became a doctor to the Lord himself. He was a doctor, but he was also a warrior within the top 30 ranks of the demonic cult. If he is the apprentice of the demon doctor, then he might have learned martial arts. This was just a guess, and they didn't know that vague knowledge was inaccurate sometimes. Baek Jongwoo did not teach martial arts to his medical apprentices. Damn it. Then there was no point in sending this bastard. Yu-kium was angry that his plan had failed and Yoan was still fine. He then started kicking the 23rd cadet again to unleash his anger. Ugh! Bastard! Don't even think about getting assistance for your clan. As Yu-kium kept kicking him, the 23rd cadet thought to himself. Yeah, you do that. Let's see if you can do that when he comes back. If Yu-kium and Jaeyoon rewarded him and kept their promises, the 23rd cadet would have spilled everything he found out, but he didn't want to do that anymore. You will feel just how dangerous that Chun Yoan can be. It was just 3 days, but the 23rd cadet had witnessed Chun Yoan's true nature. He wasn't just some foolish prince who didn't know anything. Huh? What's with this rag on top of your head anyway? Yu-kium asked and the 23rd cadet took off the cloth off his head. It showed his bald head and Yu-kium smirked at it. Huh, you think I will forgive you if you shave your hair? Yu-kium then kicked him again, but it now was much weaker. The 23rd cadet screamed to himself on the inside after he revealed his baldness. Yu-kium. Yoan, go to hell, all of you. And the 8th group descended into chaos once again. 7 more days passed, and soon it was the day of Chun Yoan's return to the group. In the morning, Right Guardian Submeng visited the medical room as usual. The only difference was that his right hand held a sword in a cow leather scabbard. You're here, teacher. Chun Yoan greeted Submeng. I have a lot to teach you, but it's already the last day. Submeng's expression showed that he really wanted to keep on teaching Yoan. However, since Yoan was attending the academy, they needed to follow the rules. What is that? Heh. This is my present to you. This was actually due to Chun Yoan's request. Chun Yoan asked Submeng if he could watch Submeng use his blade skill and Submeng came to do just that. Submeng pulled out the blade with his right hand. It was not a large blade, but the phrase, light dance had been carved onto the sharp blade. Hold it. Submeng threw it to Yoan. It was light. Isn't it light? It's not as heavy as I thought. Most blades that martial artists use are heavier than that. But the light dance blade from our family is half the usual weight. Is it because of the blade skill that you use? Yes. You are very smart indeed. Submeng's blade skill, butterfly blade dance, was a quick and swift blade skill that looked like a butterfly flying in from multiple directions which required lightweight blades. It doesn't mean the sword is weak though. Give it back to me. Here you go. Yoan handed over the blade to Submeng, who grabbed it and swung the blade at the corner of the bed. It was just a simple movement, but the sharp attack had cut off a wooden piece from the corner. Yoan then picked the piece up and placed in the corner. He should have stopped Submeng from doing this. Oh well. Baek Zhongmeng liked to keep his room clean, and he probably wouldn't like to see his bed cut down. It is sharp. Well, that's why it's a treasured blade. Submeng didn't go into the details, but his blade was one of the most famous blades within the demonic cult. Let's go over what you've learned then. Okay. Yoan had learned the basic steps and formations. He quickly stepped through and flawlessly performed the movements. He is a genius. Submeng was astonished. He only showed Yoan a few times and fixed his form, but with this rate, it would be no problem for Yoan to absorb all of it at once. Yoan actually had perfectly acquired the forms as Nano scanned and memorized Submeng's movements. But I can't be too perfect from the beginning. That was why Yoan was taking it slow. Now, onto the formation. The butterfly blade dance was comprised of 24 forms. There were 3 minor sub-forms within each form, but Yoan only learned about the sub-forms until now. Oh ho, Submeng sighed. With such talent, he would have taught him the basic forms if he had a month at least. It was a shame that he couldn't teach him any further than that. Good. You have learned well. Thank you, teacher. Submeng complimented Yoan. He then took out a crumpled piece of paper. The writing was bad, but it was full of basic information about the butterfly blade dance and how to use the internal energy connected to it. I want to teach you it thoroughly, but we don't have time. I'm sure you can handle it on your own. I will check on you when we meet again, so don't be lazy. Thank you, teacher. Yoan was touched by his teacher who looked out for him. So, that being said, I'll show you what you wanted to see. Stand back. Yoan backed away and Submeng readied his blade. He had never let Yoan watch him move with his sword until now. Submeng became serious as he was about to use the core of his blade skill. Yoan then spoke within himself. Nano, get ready to scan him. Activating scan of the target specified, Submeng.